Our marriage looked perfect until I followed her one night and learned the truth-cheating wife story. The air conditioning unit in our Tribeca penthouse hummed a counterpoint to the silence. A silence that had become heavier than usual over the last 6 months. We had the view, the money, the corner office lives, the kind of marriage that people outside looked at and thought, that's success. Elias and Serena Thorne. The power couple of New York finance and art, we were the installation piece, pristine and expensive. Sitting high above the grime of the city, except the glass protecting us had started to crack, almost imperceptibly at first. I was a man who traded in data, who predicted market shifts based on microscopic movements. Yet I ignored the largest anomaly in my life, the shift in my own wife. Serena used to devour me with her eyes across a crowded room, a silent promise of the evening ahead. Now her eyes were always scrolling, always checking the notifications on the phone she guarded like nuclear launch codes. When I asked her about the new late nights, the sudden rush of mandatory gallery openings, she gave me the curator's practiced look, cool and utterly dismissive. It's auction season, Elias, I told you. Marcus needs me there until closing, checking provenance and managing bidders. Marcus, her boss, the aging, silver-haired predator who ran the most exclusive contemporary gallery in Chelsea. I hated the sound of his name, not because of suspicion, but because his influence seemed to be wrapping tighter around her professional life, suffocating our personal one. I'd attributed the dryness in our home to stress, to the relentless pace of Manhattan success. I told myself that love wasn't always fireworks. Sometimes it was just shared inertia to successful people moving forward on parallel tracks. That delusion kept me warm until the anniversary dinner. We were at per se reservation secured 6 months in advance, occupying the window seat overlooking Columbus Circle, a testament to our status. We were celebrating 10 years of marriage. I presented her with the vintage Cartier watch I'd spent months finding. She took it, admired the mechanism, and placed it back in the box on the white linen tablecloth. "It's beautiful, Elias," she said. But her fingers were already twitching toward the phone placed face down beside her wine glass. That night, she told me she had a headache, a truly crippling lights-out migraine. She slept in the guest room. I stood by the massive pane of glass in our bedroom, looking down at the city lights. And for the first time, I felt the cold realization that my wife hadn't touched me, truly touched me in weeks. She hadn't even looked at me, not with the old fire, only with polite professional tolerance. That's when the trading floor instincts kicked in, the cold, ruthless recognition that my portfolio was about to crash, and I needed to mitigate the damage immediately. I needed data. If you've ever felt that gut punch, that cold dread that something is fundamentally wrong, a feeling that bypasses your logic and slams straight into your primal fear center, you know this feeling. It's the worst kind of nausea. The knowledge that your foundation is shifting. Hit that like button now, subscribe, and tell me in the comments if I should have walked away sooner when I saw the first red flags, or if I was right to gather the undeniable proof first. This story isn't about tears. It's about tactical annihilation. Keep watching, because what I uncovered in the dark heart of this city changed everything. The next day, the search began. I wasn't interested in petty confrontation. I was interested in definitive proof and leverage. My background wasn't just in managing billions. It was in deep-dive due diligence, finding the hidden liabilities and the undisclosed debt in complex corporate structures. Serena was now a target, a hostile acquisition. I bought a burner phone, established a secure, crypted line of communication, and utilized a network of contacts I'd cultivated over 2 decades of sharp practice. I placed a high-quality GPS tracker, the kind favored by private investigators and hostile corporate espionage teams, discreetly under the wheel well of her black Mercedes G-Wagon while she was at a mandatory planning session. The tracker pinged routinely. Tribeca to Chelsea, 11 a.m. to 6 p.m. Standard business hours.
Owls.
But the pattern shifted on Thursdays. Thursday was always client entertainment night, mandatory dinners with Heintworth collectors flown in from Zurich or London. She'd leave the gallery around 7 p.m., but the G-Wagon wouldn't head east towards our apartment. It would go further west, deep into the meatpacking district, an area known for its ultra-exclusive, its discreet luxury hotels where no questions were asked, and anonymity was the main amenity. Thursday night arrived like an execution date. I told Serena I had an emergency red-eye flight to Hong Kong, a fabricated crisis requiring immediate physical presence. She kissed me quickly, a practiced peck that landed near my ear, already pulling away, already preoccupied. Darling, don't worry about me. Just order in and work on those gallery reports. The lie was delivered with effortless calm. I waited 30 minutes after she left, then took my unmarked black sedan, driving slowly, methodically. I kept 3 blocks distance, tracking her vehicle's tiny blue dot on the custom interface ID built on my laptop. The G-Wagon stopped near the standard High Line, a place dripping in trendy pretense and discretion. I parked 4 blocks away in a dimly lit side street, put on a nondescript hooded jacket, and pulled a Yankees baseball cap low over my eyes. I looked like every other angry, aging New Yorker, heading home from a late shift, invisible in the urban anonymity. I watched her walk from the car. She wasn't carrying a briefcase or a portfolio. She was carrying a small, structured clutch and wearing a dress I hadn't seen, a deep emerald silk that shimmered under the streetlights, cut scandalously low. She looked 30 again, energized, vibrating with a nervous excitement I hadn't seen directed toward me in years. She checked her phone, a small, knowing smile playing on her lips, and walked confidently through the revolving doors of the hotel. I didn't rush. I sat in the shadows of an abandoned loading dock, waiting for the secondary piece of evidence. Marcus, the gallery owner, arrived exactly 7 minutes later. He stepped out of a black town car, not the Mercedes he usually drove. A small detail I registered immediately: he was using operational security. Marcus was 60, but he was tanned, sharp, and wore the arrogant confidence of old money and unchecked power. He didn't look like a man doing business. He looked like a man with an appointment, an anticipated carnal appointment. He carried a bottle of vintage champagne, its distinctive label glinting under the marquee lights. He didn't look around. He walked directly inside, toward the lifts. I stood there, leaning against the cold brick, feeling the city noise fade out into a dull roar. The air caught in my chest, a physical block. The theoretical suspicion was now a concrete, undeniable reality. The 10 years, the promises, the shared history, it was all rendered meaningless by 7 minutes of observation on a chilly Thursday night in the meatpacking district. My wife, the woman who swore fidelity on our wedding day, is now ascending 30 floors with a predator, a man old enough to be her father, in a hotel room paid for by his illicit gallery profits. I didn't storm in. I didn't scream. That wasn't my style. My style was controlled demolition. I walked to a nearby coffee shop, ordered the strongest, blackest coffee they had, and waited. I waited 3 hours and 17 minutes, meticulously timing the duration of their betrayal. At 11:45 p.m., Serena exited the hotel alone, looking flushed and vibrant, her emerald dress slightly askew. Marcus followed exactly 3 minutes later, a deliberate attempt at spacing out their departure, further cementing the pre-planned nature of their rendezvous. I got back into my sedan, not following her home immediately, letting the GPS track do the work. I drove to the West Side Highway and pulled over, staring across the black, choppy water of the Hudson River. The rage that hit me was cold, not hot. It wasn't the pain of a heartbroken husband. It was the fury of a highly intelligent man who had been made a fool of, systematically and intentionally misled for months, maybe years. The realization that every late meeting, every headache, every tired refusal was a calculated lie, designed to send me searching for external, logical reasons. While she was actively dismantling our life, the betrayal wasn't just physical, it was financial, emotional, and social. Mina knew my career, my standing, my professional ruthlessness. She had married a lion and thought she could feed him scraps while dining elsewhere. That was her fatal mistake. She had given me all the data I needed, and now I would use it to bankrupt her world. I didn't sleep that night. I was a machine running on pure adrenaline and corrosive contempt. I initiated Phase 1 of the separation protocol. Step 1 involved securing our assets, which I, as a financial professional, had meticulously structured over the years. My prenuptial agreement, drafted before my first massive IPO success, was ironclad, designed precisely for a situation where fidelity was broken, stipulating a clear forfeiture clause related to marital infidelity, proven by a private investigator or verifiable evidence. The evidence was now verifiable. By 4 a.m., I was on a secure video call with my family lawyer, an austere woman named Elaine who specialized in Hintworth divorce and corporate litigation. I told her everything, skipping the emotional padding and presenting only the facts. The GPS data, the timestamps, the video stills I'd captured from a distance of them entering and leaving. "Elias, this is strong," Elaine said, her face impassive even at that hour. "The forfeiture clause requires indisputable proof of ongoing infidelity. You've given me enough for summary judgment. We filed today, first thing. We freeze the joint accounts, move the liquid assets into separate, non-marital trusts, and secure the deeds to the Tribeca residence, which is held solely in your name. I want more than the house and the accounts, Elaine. I want the leverage to end her career and his." I leaned forward, the shadows of the morning stretching across my face. "Serena is a gallery curator. Marcus's operation is built on offshore money and art market manipulation. I want to audit the gallery's financials. I want to see every wire transfer for the last 3 years. If there is a weakness, I will find it. This isn't just about divorce. It's about demonstrating consequence." Elaine simply nodded, recognizing the cold, controlled intensity of my command. "We all get a discovery subpoena targeting Marcus's financials based on potential commingling of assets with Serena during the marriage. I'll make sure it looks like standard high-stakes divorce procedure." The legal machinery moved with terrifying speed. By 9 a.m., divorce papers were filed in the New York Supreme Court. Sealed under a temporary restraining order, freezing her access to the majority of our shared capital, I simultaneously triggered a previously established, fully legitimate leveraged buyout scheme involving a minor competitor of Marcus's gallery. Scheme I'd had sitting on the shelf for months, waiting for the right market instability. This wasn't revenge yet. This was setting the stage for the fall. The internal investigation into Marcus began in earnest. As a leading figure in the financial sector, I had access to systems and databases that were legally gray areas for others. I utilized my own forensic accounting team, ostensibly working on a client acquisition target. We peeled back the layers of Marcus's offshore holding companies, the Cayman Islands trusts, the Geneva bank accounts. Art, especially contemporary art, is a brilliant vehicle for money laundering. And Marcus was not subtle enough for my level of scrutiny. We found the ghost sales, the padded invoices, and the deliberate undervaluation of estates to skirt tax laws. Serena, as a senior curator, had to be involved. She was signing off on the paperwork. I maintained the pretense of the Hong Kong trip for 48 hours, giving the legal filings time to settle and the subpoenas to be served. I stayed in a minimalist apartment I owned downtown, watching the silent unfolding of the crisis I had initiated. I watched her profile on LinkedIn, watched the gallery website, searching for any flicker of panic. When I finally went back to the Tribeca penthouse, it was Saturday afternoon, so the air in the apartment felt corrosive, thick with the unspoken truth. Serena was there, sitting stiffly on the Italian leather sofa, dressed impeccably but looking pale and brittle. Her laptop was open, displaying the Supreme Court filing notice, the front page of the divorce petition, the cruel clinical language describing the grounds for dissolution. She looked up, her eyes wide with manufactured distress, her voice tight with disbelief. "Elias, what is this? What have you done?" "Got back from the gallery. They served me papers. Went freezing everything. This is insane." I didn't answer immediately. I walked past her, shed my jacket, and went to the bar to pour a single malt scotch, savoring the burn.
Ow.
I didn't offer her one. "It's not insane, Serena," I finally said, turning around holding the heavy glass. "It's remedial. It's what happens when you treat a 10-year partnership like a cheap convenience store. A divorce? Over what? A fight? Elias, we have fights. We are stressed. We can fix this." She tried to stand, tried to approach me, but I took a deliberate step back, widening the gulf between us. "Don't insult me with a pretense of salvageable marriage, Serena. Save the performance for your clientele. I know about Thursday night. I know about the standard high line. I know about Marcus. I know about the emerald dress. I know about the migraine. I know about every single lie you've told me since last September." The color drained completely from her face. The practiced distress shattered, replaced by a deep, ugly, immediate fear. The fear of being caught, not the shame of betrayal. Elias, it was a mistake. A momentary lapse. It meant nothing. It was just a stupid reaction to pressure. He coerced me. It was purely physical. A brief stop, I commanded, the words slicing the air. Don't cheapen your decision by blaming coercion. You chose him. You chose to lie. You chose to disrespect every single vow we made, every investment I made in your life, your career, and your comfort. And now, you will face the consequences of those choices. I set the scotch down, walked to the immense dining table, and laid out 3 bound files I had brought home. The first was the divorce filing, stamped and dated. The second was the detailed evidence log, photos, timestamps, GPS coordinates, and the testimony of my private contractor. The third, and most devastating, was a 30-page preliminary report detailing the financial irregularities of Marcus's gallery, sourced from my internal forensic team. This file, I tapped the third document, the red cover stark against the white table, is why I didn't call you the moment I saw you walk into that hotel. If you were just a cheating wife, this would be a simple, painful divorce. But you weren't just cheating, Serena. You were operating. You were signing documents, certifying valuations, and facilitating the movement of capital that was demonstrably criminal. Marcus is laundering money through his art sales. And you, as a senior curator and a signatory on several of his trusts, are complicit. Accessory to tax fraud and money laundering. Her breath hitched, a thin, panicked sound. This was far beyond the affair. This was the cliff edge of professional ruin and potential incarceration. If I walk away quietly and you accept the terms of the prenup which leaves you with a modest sum. Exactly what the document stipulates for infidelity, this report stays with my lawyer sealed. You leave New York, quietly, immediately. You resign from the gallery citing personal health reasons, effective yesterday. You disappear and I let the SEC and the IRS find Marcus on their own schedule. I watched her mind race. She was calculating the odds, the cost of fighting versus the cost of silence. If you contest the divorce, if you claim distress, if you try to take half of my life's work, I continued, my voice low and level. I will file this report with the U.S. Attorney's Office tomorrow morning, attaching your certified signatures on all those fraudulent documents. Marcus goes down, and you, my dear Serena, will be his co-defendant. You think New York high society divorce is ugly? Try federal prison. Serena stared at the report, her eyes wide with the realization that the man she had taken for granted, the man she had systematically emasculated through her deceit, was not broken. He was simply waiting for the optimal moment to strike. She had mistaken my patience for weakness. He said he protected me, she whispered, the curator's composure finally dissolving into genuine fear. Marcus protected his interests. I protect mine, I countered. And your interest now lies in the immediate, silent acceptance of my terms. You have 30 minutes to pack a single suitcase of personal belongings. My driver will take you to JFK, where you have a first-class ticket waiting for anywhere you choose to disappear to. Don't contact me. Don't contact my attorney. If I hear from you again, the sealed report becomes public evidence. The ruthlessness was exhilarating, a surge of power that replaced the hollow ache of betrayal. It wasn't about vengeance for my heart. It was about surgical removal of the cancer she represented. She finally nodded, a jerky, broken motion. She understood the zero-sum game. The last act was watching her leave. She was escorted out of the penthouse, the embodiment of her life's ambition reduced to one rolling carry-on bag. I didn't say goodbye. I didn't look back. I just listened to the click of the heavy oak door closing, finally, definitively, on our decade of lies. The fallout was immediate and spectacular. 2 days later, the SEC launched a quiet, targeted investigation into Marcus's gallery based on an anonymous, deeply technical submission of suspicious trading activity. The art world whispered Marcus panicked. He couldn't possibly trace the source. The leak was too precise, too tailored to his specific financial weaknesses. He liquidated high-value assets quickly, triggering red flags across international banking systems. The pressure mounted, fueled by my strategic leaks and market manipulation that drove his competitors to start circling his inventory. Within a month, Marcus was indicted, his gallery shuttered, his reputation destroyed. He tried to claim Serena was the architect, but she was nowhere to be found, having taken my advice and vanished entirely. She left New York, leaving behind the glittering shell of the life she thought she deserved. Her name was mentioned in the financial footnotes of the investigation, but never as a prime target, just a peripheral associate who fled under duress. My revenge was complete. She was ruined financially, professionally, and exiled socially. All while ensuring I remained perfectly clean, the sympathetic, successful husband wronged by a manipulative associate. I sat in the quiet of the Tribeca penthouse 6 months later, the scent of fresh paint and new furniture replacing the stale ghost of her perfume. The divorce was finalized, clean and unambiguous, thanks to the forfeiture clause. The city below was still loud, still frantic, but the silence inside me was different now. It was a silence of peace, of controlled solitude, not the heavy, deceptive quiet that had marked the end of my marriage. I had been humiliated, yes, but I had used that humiliation as fuel, transforming the pain of betrayal into the focused, devastating precision of a market collapse. I was Elias Thorne, still successful, still powerful, but forever changed. I learned that the greatest leverage isn't love or trust, but knowledge, and that a truly successful man never shows his hand until the absolute last moment. I picked up my phone not to check texts, but to review the final audit on the now-defunct gallery's assets. It was over. I won the divorce, I won the assets, and I won my self-respect back. But standing there, overlooking the vast, indifferent landscape of Manhattan, I knew that the silence would always carry a slight echo of that emerald dress and the chilling truth that the person who knows you best has the greatest capacity to destroy you. I survived the betrayal, but the capacity for trust, that precious, fragile currency, was permanently bankrupt. That was the real final cost of Serena's choice, and I wouldn't forget it.